date is Wednesday, April 28th, 2021. Like a motion to call a meeting to order of the Lake Street Improvement Committee.
Make a motion.
There a second?
Second. Amos.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. First order of business is to approve the meeting minutes of the last meeting that were attached, which covered mostly the Solitude, the presentation by Solitude, as well as some other issues that Mr. Amaral reported on. For those who were at that meeting, sorry I was not in attendance. So would there be a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Great, thank you. So just to keep things, everybody all on the same page and keep things moving in the right direction, I think a lot of the work has been done. There's been a lot of work done sort of behind the scenes as we've developed essentially a game plan moving forward. And so one of the things that is sort of hanging out in the balance is where we stand with Solitude. Because of Mass General Law procurement laws, we must secure at least good faith 3 sort of bona fide bids or at least quotes. And Scott, we obviously got the one from Solitude, and I think Scott has been reaching out to a couple companies. Where are you with that, Scott?
I've reached out to, other than Solitude, I've reached out to 3 other companies. Okay. 2 of them are based in Massachusetts. One of them is based in Brookfield, Connecticut.
Got it.
I've got a rough, and I mean a very rough estimate from one of them, and I'm waiting to receive rough estimates from the other 2.
Okay.
I spoke to one of the gentlemen yesterday for almost an hour, picking his brain and getting some more information. So he's going to be sending me a rough estimate based on the information that I gave him.
Okay.
Concerning size of the lakes, the types of invasive weed species that we have, and an approximation as to how many acreage of each pond is actually impacted.
Okay.
So again, they're going to be rough estimates, but I'm trying to meet the requirements of that procurement form so we can get that taken care of.
Right. And it's not it's not the worst process to go through. At least if we get multiple set of eyes on it, I think we still have time, right, with to have a contract awarded. We do have, so the next steps would be once we know that we want to, what vendor we want to go with, make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen, who then technically have to approve the contract. We are doing our due diligence with the city of New Bedford just to make sure, to double, triple check that it's okay to move forward with this. I don't anticipate any issues, but we just want to make sure again that we cross that T and dot that I. Everything that I've seen have on paper in past conversations, the city of New Bedford has given us the green light to do it, so long as we're informing them of what's going on, and quite frankly, they don't have to pay for it. So pretty good deal for them. And so that's where that stands. I know Gary, Mike, and Eric did some work met with Dan Menard to talk about some safety improvements, some things that we knew that we wanted to move forward with. And so I'll turn it over to one of you gentlemen to maybe just talk a little bit about that process. And then we've got Dan on, Dan Menard who's on, who we got some good news that I think we will be able to get started on some of those things like next week, guardrails included, and some of the asphalt paving for the parking lot and so on and so forth. So gentlemen, which one of you would like to talk a little bit about the safety aspect of this? And Eric, I saw that what you sent to me earlier today. I don't know if you could maybe put it up as a shared on your screen at all, if that's possible. Maybe we can use that as a jumping off point for the conversation.
Yeah, let me, if you guys want to get started, I'll pull it up.
Dave, I can begin if you'd like.
Yeah, please do. That'd be great.
we kind of broke this up with, Mike Madden has more extensive training as far as traffic flow with vehicular traffic. So we kind of divvied up responsibility for that area. Mike is going to handle pretty much recommendations on how the department will go forward with how what we can do to reduce the traffic in that area, slow it down as far as make it safer for pedestrians by slowing the traffic down with signage and much more than that. And I'll let Mike speak on that further. Eric and I kind of took the idea of why don't we focus on the pedestrian safety of the people in that area. And we started with, met with Dan Menard there. The three of us walked that area. We came up with what I thought were some good ideas as far as drop-off areas for boats and making the entrance into both parking lots have a dedicated entrance and exit for both parking lots. Paving both parking lots because we found in the past trying to piecemeal it with stone dust. It looks good for about a day or two, and then the inevitable happens, and it's a pain for Dan to maintain. We talked about extending that guardrail system. Seems to be working out I haven't heard any negative comments about it. And we talked about extending that further down on the, I guess that would be the southwest pond, all the way toward Main Street, and also put the same guardrail system on the northeast pond from one end to the other, extending that area, getting people away from the street, blocking traffic from the pedestrians, and allowing more area to fish. Besides, with the drawing that Eric has is kind of it's easier to look at and see the visual aspects of it. We talked about also docking systems and walking paths and lighting and security measures. Eric just shared the picture. As you can see, we have an area here in the middle for a playground. There's also an area for a picnic area on that parking lot. There's dedicated areas for trailer parking in both parking lots. There's a guardrail system or some sort of barrier will be placed around, obviously, the playground. And you can see there's a kayak drop-off right there we can utilize for short-term parking. Once you launch your boat, you can pull right into the parking lot. Obviously, there's going to be several more crosswalks that would be needed. We talked about different ways of making those crosswalks pop so that people do see them. They don't just fade away over time. There's a lot of aspects that we covered. We just, like I said in the letter that I wrote, guys, this was just ideas. Nothing set in stone. We can piecemeal this as we go on. We can set priorities, what we should do first and last, but I think it was a pretty good start.
Yeah, I agree, Gary, and thank you, gentlemen, for taking that on and working with Dan on that. And I think we're in a good spot. I think one of the goals of this project was to really not overthink it, right, and not get paralyzed by trying to find the absolute perfect outcome when when there's really some I don't want to say basic improvements, but there's some achievable improvements that we can do with the resources that we have, with the in-house resources. And so I'm really excited about that. So thanks, guys. And so now we'll turn it over to Dan, who, we met with the selectmen a few weeks ago and trying to come up with a schedule for the DPW. And I guess a good and a bad thing is that sort of all of the funding for major road projects have run out, essentially have been exhausted for FY 2021. And so Dan's got a little bit, the team has some time to dedicate to Lake Street. So Dan, you're on mute. We'll turn it over to you and you can share with the group based on the recommendations and the conversations we've had over the last several months, what you plan to move forward with and the timing of that.
Okay, for now, I get the bids for these guardrails, which again, I went with Eric and Gary. So what I got the guardrail figured would be I guess that's a south pond, and continue like we talked about with the boat ramp launching there on that side and going all the way down that to the end of that pond. And then we're gonna cross over the street and come back towards the middle road side. So there's enough guardrail to do both of them sides of the street. So with the bid we got. And I had chapter 90 funding for 27, and then I did get it approved because it wound up the lowest bid was 36,000 for that guardrail. So it wound up getting approved through the state. So we can actually do the guardrail under the chapter 90 fundings that I had. Like I said, 27 was already allocated last year. We just didn't get to do it, and we added that. It was an extra like 9,000 or whatever for this to do this project, and they agreed with it. So we're good on the
So
guardrail.
Dan, what's great about that and for the group is that, as you recall, we went to town meeting and we were fortunate enough to be allocated $75,000 for this Lake Street project to jumpstart the water restoration. And to be honest with you, I think we had kind of thought the guardrails and, you know, some of these achievable safety improvements, and the fact that we don't have to touch that town meeting appropriation, and there's a different source of revenue, gives us more money to play with, to do some other types of enhancements, and obviously with Dan's in-house. So I just want to make that point. And I think we had ballparked Solitude, the water restoration, somewhere around like the 35,000 area. So now you've got, you know, another 40-ish to play with on, you know, some real serious enhancements and above and beyond the guardrails. But I would argue that the guardrail piece of it is really important, you know, probably just as important as anything else we're doing over there. So Dan, sorry to interrupt. I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, no, that's good. So part of the thing, like we were having, and again, we all talked about it, but we were talking kind of spending 25,000. So I measured out the parking lot, the one where the docks are in now. And the good part about it is I need process for the sidewalks to do the sidewalks. So by me stripping that material out, I can use that material for the sidewalks area. So that's my goal, is going to start in a week or two. I'll let you know on a little issue we just had today, but with the front end loader, which I need that for that job. So hopefully that don't set me back a little bit, but I'll know more tomorrow. But anyways, we're going to dig that out, put that material on the sidewalks so I can get the guardrails done. The other reason I was going to put, that's enough money to put that parking lot in binder. It's not to do the top coat, but I can put like a 2.5 inch coat of binder on that whole parking lot. And that's
Would that be for both sides, Dan, or which one?
Just the main parking lot we have
Near the
now.
beach?
So it's no pavement. The guardrail will be going across the whole, both parking areas,
Got it.
but we won't be able to do nothing on the other one for now. It would be just digging that one out, getting that one in binder and the guardrails. And then I was gonna see how we are for money for there. At that point, we can, you know, there's some areas that we could do some wood chipping and maybe put some benches, just build some more docks, you know, because then we're fairly cheap. So that's something we can do in-house too. So that would kind of almost take care of that 25,000. If we do that, get that in binder, get the sidewalks done. And again, that's putting like filter fabric down with some stone and kind of similar to what we did, putting all them rocks down, cleaning that other area up. And kind of that's about where we were. I wouldn't be touching that second area, but I would get, what I could do though, is dig out the entrances and get both of them parking lots in the, you know, in and out areas on both of them parking lots while I'm there. But we were only paving the first one for now.
Okay. Any questions from the committee? So Dan, just so I got it right, you'll essentially, with what we're calling the sidewalks and the guardrails, afford people the ability to walk back and forth right, without really being exposed to the street. It'll be protected with the guardrail, and it'll almost be like, you know, a mini boardwalk in a way, right? Pretty long area, which I think obviously would be much safer for people, and there'll be some protection, and it'll be like kind of a defined fishing area, really.
Yeah, and then one more thing, I don't know, again, I'm probably gonna go in front of the board about line painting this year. And maybe when we do the line painting, like, we can also add in them, getting them crosswalks done at the same time. And usually it's kind of in the summertime when we do that painting, the line painting. So again, I'll adjust the board when we get to that.
if does anybody on the committee have an objection with what Dan has put forward as sort of the first phase of this project? I think we're really fortunate to have in-house staff to be able to do this and the money to do it. And I think it'll have an immediate impact on the area. If there isn't, then maybe I can get a motion to approve Dan's report and his work, his initial, Dan's proposal for phase, we'll call it phase 1 of this project.
I'll make the motion to approve it.
Is there a second?
I'll
I
second it.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. So one of the things that I was working on is I've spoken with Tom Huff about some signage. He's in the process of, for those of you who know Tom and the work he's done, just look outside the fire station, the Council on Aging, Long Plain, some of the buildings in town that have that nice maroon and gold, the town colors. And so Tom is in the process of coming up with some renderings for each of the different ponds that we had talked about, like Old Town Beach and Tom Davis Pond. And I think North Pond, Kayakers Cove, and the Pump House Station Pond. And so we'll have something that we can show you all. And if everybody likes that design, we can get him, we can approve that and get Tom moving on those as well. I think that'll be a nice impact. So to Eric, Mike, and Gary, is there anything that you would need in the way of for signage that you think needs to go up there, that you'd want to see in the way of like boating safety, swimming safety, what you had in the lines of that? And I don't know who would carry that out. Is that something, Dan, that if we gave you guys, the DPW, what we needed, that you guys could do the signs? Or I'm not familiar with that process.
David, it depends, I guess, if, are you gonna make metal signs or are they gonna be?
Yeah, I would think like speed limits, like the signage there, not the wooden signs that designate the ponds, but something that would, unless, gentlemen, there's another product out there that you had in mind. I don't know. I'll leave it to you all, to what you've seen, what you have in mind. But I'm just wondering how would we execute that?
That's through me. I mean, I have all our signs done through Permaline. They're out of
Okay.
Boston, so I don't have an issue. You guys, we get something drawn up or whatever we want to
Okay.
do. I can make any sign we want in metal, as far as metal, and I have the posts and stuff like that as far as installing them.
Okay.
One more thing to say too, Marilee, I don't know if it's tonight or it was last night meeting. I didn't talk to her, but she just had to re-up my permit before I can start there and do any work too. So she sounded like it was going to be no big deal, but I just wanted to be aware of that as well.
Great. Dan, maybe if you could have Kathy, I don't know if there's the company you work with, you said it's Permaline, maybe there's a link to their webpage or something or other, and we can send that off to Eric, Gary, and Mike to take a look at that and just see what's out there and what kind of design you think you want or whatever. But I think that's really good stuff. I think we'll be able to have some real nice visual impact. And Scott, I know you've been our sort of social media coordinator over the years. Maybe when Dan gets things, if things get moving, or when they get moving over there, we can get some photos and put it up on some of the different social media pages in town, whether it be all things Acushnet, and Eric with the Acushnet Fire Department Facebook page. It's always been a good source of information for our residents. Same with you, Mike. I think the more people know about it and that we are moving in the right direction, I think there'll be some pretty good stuff.
Hey, David, things about the signage, just throwing this out there. I don't have my report in front of me, but I do remember we were talking about some solar flashing speed limit signs. One coming to Middle Road and one coming towards Main Street, and posting them on both sides. There is an expense with that, and Mike can probably talk a little bit more on that.
Okay.
I'll let him-
Yeah, Mike, I'd like to hear more about the traffic safety aspect.
Yeah, so Dan and I have worked on some other projects with the traffic signs, so I have a pretty good idea of what it would cost for those speed limit signs. Also, I know Lake Street's a no parking zone in a lot of areas, and obviously we've got to put the signs up for that. I will say this, all the training I've done for the reconstruction and the traffic studies, the better the signage, it actually has a huge effect on traffic. The crosswalks, as crazy as they sound, it actually slows people down the brighter color they are. I know we've talked about speed tables in the past, but that gets real sticky with legalities and stuff like that. It's not something I'm a big fan of. Just seeing through crash reconstruction studies and stuff, you really don't want to do that. But the signage and the fog lines and things like that are huge. As Gary was talking about, the digital signs. We have a company that we have a digital sign through now with the police department. I don't remember how we purchased it, if it was a grant or whatever it was, many years ago. I say many years, it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, or maybe 4 years ago. We procured one sign. It's battery operated. They now have the solar operated ones. At the time, they didn't have them available. The sign is actually a cloud-based sign. I can put it into, I actually have it deployed now. I can put it out on a street sign and go in covert mode. When I go covert mode, it doesn't flash, doesn't show speed limits or anything. It actually does a traffic count. It will send me alerts if anyone tampers with the sign. It'll send me photographs of vehicles. Now, we don't take license plates and enforce that here in Massachusetts. That's not the intention of it. The camera is nice, but it ain't that nice. Honestly, it's not that great. But it is nice. It's actually helped us with a lot of cases in the past. For example, Peckham Road, we were getting speeder after speeder on Peckham Road. We were getting a lot of complaints about it to our office at the PD as well as to Selectmen's. I deployed the sign for about a week. I got a pattern on a vehicle. We went out there the first night and got that vehicle doing 65 miles an hour. And there was a lot of other legal issues with the vehicle and the operator, and we were able to put a major end to that. He was the biggest offender, the biggest cause of complaints, but because of those photos. Now you can also activate it. I can do it from my phone, from any computer. I am the administrator on that account, so I can set the signs up, put them out there. I can go from covert to actual flashing signs where they post the speed limit, then it'll tell you your speed limit. It is suggested that you put them on a speed limit sign that is already existing. So the Mass DOT has a whole book on the traffic safety, and I know Dan's familiar with the book. It's a whole traffic safety response and how to cure the problems you're having. Preferred responses. With that, I've studied that quite well and all the speed limits in the area. If we deploy those out there, if we were able to get those two signs, what we'll do is the flashing is also a strobe, but the speed limit itself will flash if you go over the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. We can set it for thresholds. So if it goes above, say, 12 miles an hour, it'll actually send an alert to my phone, as well as take photographs or anything, however I want to set it up. It's very versatile. Those signs now with the solar system make it that much more efficient. I don't have to go out there and change the battery every 2.5, 3 days. That's about how long it's lasting right now. And the batteries do get expensive, and it becomes a reoccurring cost. Our batteries are dying a little quicker now than they used to. So I'm sure I got maybe another 2 years on those batteries, if that, before we have to replace those batteries. And those are quite expensive. They're very large batteries. With the solar system, I had a quote from last year. I have not done my updated quote yet with the company, but we're looking at, I think it was about $5,200 per sign with the solar system, and it's a one-time cost other than the fee to renew your cloud data, which we do now for the one that we already have. It would not be any added cost to add signs to it. Those signs would all be there. Now, what also is nice is for if we ever have a question, or the board ever has a question, people complain about the speed and stuff, these signs are extremely accurate. They only measure speed and display the speed for the oncoming traffic. The traffic leaving the sign will not record that speed. So that is also one reason why it's good to have it on both sides of the road. Just prior to the ponds is what I was thinking, to really slow people down. You're coming down the hills, really get them to slow down. I can also tell you about a year and a half ago, I went and completed a study on Lake Street with the sign that we currently have. With that information, I then went out and I started doing educational car stops to kind of slow the area down. And then I redeployed the sign and did another traffic study. Violators dropped by 51% in the area after just 1 week of enforcement. And it wasn't writing citations or anything, it was actually just education. And then after that, also the ones that were still offending, their offending speeds dropped by 35%, which was pretty decent. A little more enforcement and education would have helped. The extra signages, extra speed limit signs, as well as the flashing signs will definitely, you'll see a huge improvement. Now, there are signs out there for crosswalks and stuff like that, but that becomes a whole nother issue that gets real expensive, and I don't know that's something that we'd be able to get into right now. But those two signs, like I said, they also, that same company, All Traffic Solutions, they do a LiDAR system that also links to that cloud. So when you do enforcement, you can record every car you point the LiDAR at, and it goes into that system, and it's another way of doing a traffic study. Obviously, with the Acushnet Police, we typically try to do a lot more education than we do citing, unless we have to. I believe the town residents appreciate that as well, but obviously we do have to write citations at times. But this whole system is extremely effective. We don't currently have the LiDAR system, so that's something that we'd be looking to get into at some point. I don't know if that's something this board could help with, this committee could help with. But it's one of those things, when you deploy it there, it'll work great. The winter's gonna come. We can actually move the signs to other areas of town if we need to, school zones, things like that. And then when we put them back there, you're gonna see how soon people forget the speed enforcement over there and the signs. And we'll do a little bit of enforcement every year, slow it down, and it'll be a huge improvement, I believe, for pedestrian traffic. The crosswalks, I know Dan and Gary and Erica spoke about it. Those just becomes infinitely more safe once you get the speed limit signs as well as the flashing signs. Again, the speed limit signs, the flashing signs there from Traffic Solutions, I want to say, like I said, $5,200. I don't believe they went up much at all this year, but I do have to get a more solid quote on that.
So if we're looking at some of the, address some of the things that you had, an allocation of somewhere around not to exceed 15,000, like around $15,000, for the signage and get set up. You think that would be a workable budget to address to take on some of this stuff?
Yes, I believe that would be a very workable budget. I've had the fortunate chance to work with some of the budgets here in the PD already.
Yeah.
So I've been able to work some good numbers into it, and I believe I could do the same here.
I don't know how you feel, members of the committee, but it's all well and good to do improvements and beautification, but the safety aspect of it, I know when I'm either running on that street or I know my kids ride their bikes, and you see fishing, I think it just really behooves us. It's a responsible thing to put some safety measures in place. If we're going to do something there to make it an attraction, make it a place where people hang out, I think it would be really reckless to not put some of these safety measures in place. I don't know how you all feel, and I think it'd be money well spent.
David, if I could add to that, I've been a police officer in Acushnet for 25 years. I'm telling you that is by far the most scariest road in town for me, because I cringe when I hear a car accident there, because so many kids, and they're not far off the road. It's just, Mike mentioned we do the enforcement as much as you can, but you got the hills on both ends coming down. People don't realize how fast they're going. And as much signage as possible is a must, I think, for this project in that area, because as much as I'm adamant about cleaning the ponds. I just dread if something awful would happen because we didn't want to put the proper signage up.
Right. I'm fairly certain, I can almost promise that whatever money we put into safety, we can recoup from people offering sweat equity, donation of services, donation of goods. And so if you want to start, I'd ask for a motion to allocate $15,000 of the budget for the safety improvements that Officer Matten just put forward. And we'll see where that gets us. And if we have to add to it, then we do. But I think I think it's really important to take on.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great,
Aye.
great, thank you. Amanda, and you'll, if you can keep that in the notes and maybe just keep a running tally of our budget. We started off with 75,000. We're looking at 25,000-ish for the paving, the parking lot area, and then 15,000 for the safety, for the signage and safety, initial safety improvements. And the guardrails will be taken out of existing Chapter 90 funds, separate from our $75,000 budget. So we're looking at, and then so we'll be just right around, and then we've got Solitude. We'll be just right around, to do some other things. Like I said, I'm fairly certain we'll be able to get some donations and some other things to do some of the beautification things that we want to do over there.
I got that in, David. And actually, I know I'm not part, but if I can chime in for a second.
Yeah, please.
In Rochester at our last public safety meeting, I don't know when the deadline was, but we were looking into this grant that covers the solar powered, like the stop signs and different solar powered signage. So I actually just texted my highway surveyor to see if I could get some more information, but if it's something that's still running, I think it might be worth looking into for signage.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Thanks, Amanda. That's a huge deal.
Absolutely.
For those of you who don't know, Amanda runs the town of Rochester. So,
I wouldn't go that far.
but thank you.
Try
That's
not
good.
to anyways.
Yeah, that's good info. Thank you very much. Is there anything else that we want to talk about tonight? I'll just leave it up for discussion. Any ideas or thoughts or questions for anybody who's joining us who hadn't been on in the past? I think we're in a pretty good spot, waiting to see from Old Colony some of their renderings and what that'll look like. And I think the remaining parts of things will be, sort of the spit shine, if you will, for lack of a better term, and we'll just keep grinding away at it in multiple phases.
Dave, I got one question.
Yes, sir.
Lighting is the one I was thinking. I don't know if anybody's kind of working on that. I think that would be another safety thing, lighting in that parking lots or, around there for at night. That was one. I don't know if anybody's worked on that or all.
So Gary, to Gary and Mike, is there something like, do we have existing structures that we could, because the selectmen a couple weeks ago, we talked about streetlights and that type of stuff. Are those things that we can do with, like, through the selectmen's office?
I would think so. I don't know, Dan, we did mention the lighting, I guess, in that report. I think you're gonna have to add a couple poles to that parking lot. But I do agree with Dan. The lighting is obviously part of that, the safety aspect as well. And we also talked about at one point maybe doing even surveillance cameras in that area for illegal dumping and other illicit behavior, trying to discourage that. Sign that as well. I mean, so we have talked about it. We haven't gone in depth yet on that because I guess we're just doing one project at a time. But I definitely think you have to look at the lighting, especially if we do it with the playground in the middle. I would, you really want to have some sort of surveillance system there for that reason. And the illicit dumping and the lighting keeps that illicit behavior away.
Right. So to Gary and Mike, could that be an action item that you take on to look into the surveillance. You know, if the police department has a game plan for that kind of stuff, but if you could look into that and maybe come back to the committee with a recommendation, you know, and then we can take a look at that. And then Dan, on the street lights, is that, I'm trying to remember, do we work with you, right? It kind of goes through the selectman's office, but we work it through you all, right?
No, actually Jim Merritt deals with that. 'Cause he's
Okay.
part of the green energy thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe I can talk with Jim and,
Okay.
I think in the past, like the last time we, you know, were working on this, you know, a couple of years back or whatever, when we first started it. I think Jim was saying that he can get it done through the town thing, so.
Right, through the green
Yeah.
communities. All right,
Yeah.
so why don't we do that then? Dan, if you could check with Jim on that.
Okay,
Is motion to direct Dan Menard, to ask Dan Menard to communicate with Jim Merritt about lighting. Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then we could have a motion to ask our safety subcommittee to look into surveillance.
Dave, Mike and I have talked about this. There may be a
Okay.
possibility that the park department, because they currently have a system now, if this is wireless, maybe we
build off of that.
build off of that.
Okay, great. Mike, you're on the park board, right?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
There we go. Love that. All right. I think that's it for now. I don't know if anybody else has any
I had a couple
thoughts? Yes, sir.
said a couple things. I'm waiting on communications back, but through DCR, they have like a public space or public access program, and they, if Lake Street is a public access area, there's a means to be able to get signage, you know, for the safety signage for
Oh, wow. Okay.
the safety on the water. A lot of it, they have stuff already in play. It's already made up, and that's something that they would supply at no cost.
Oh, geez, that's really great.
I'm waiting to hear back from that.
Okay.
Bring that forward. The other thing I was looking at, from the minutes from the last meeting, and I know when we met with Paul Conti at the last meeting, and one of his comments that he made was that you know, that the anticipation for the permitting, because it's not just the town of Acushnet, but the permitting is about, he said it was approximately a 2-month process. And I know when it comes to, he also mentioned that when it comes to treating the water for these invasive plants, the ideal time would be about June and July. And I know it kind of puts us against the clock.
Right.
Obviously, we haven't settled on a company yet. We haven't gone through that process yet. But then I also know that it has to go through the selectman's office. So I'm just trying to just march out the timeline. And I know a little bit of pressure on, but
is the permitting through the Concom? Scott, is that who we need to go through, or is there some other entity? Eric, is there some other entity?
yeah. I'm not sure. I know it has to go, I think they have to get a state permit too, I believe. Is that what he said, Scott?
Yes, so Solitude's gonna manage, well, if we do hire Solitude to do the work, they're gonna handle all the aspects of the permitting. So
Got
they
it.
will go through the state and acquire all the permitting that's necessary for them to do what they need to do. That is part of, that was in the contract, so that's considered part of the budget in the overall $35,000 estimate, or not
Okay.
estimate, but price that they gave us to do their services.
Okay.
Permitting
Well,
is part of it.
So Scott, I'll talk to you offline, but I think you've made, you know, some good faith efforts with the other companies, and we'll give them a drop dead date. And if they don't respond back, then I think we can move forward and get this moving. And then we can get it on the selectmen's agenda. I'd like to do it. We're going to meet. Well, obviously we can't do it next Tuesday, but we're going to meet before town meeting. because we have to do some appointments, and so maybe I can squeeze it on the agenda for that, Scott. So we can try to wrap this up.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
get
One
that
company
taken care
assured me that they would get me a quote by the end of the week. So that would
Okay.
make a total of at least 2 estimates by the end of this week that I
Okay.
will have. And
Okay.
I can always reach out to the third company and see where they are with their estimates. If not, at least we'll have,
We've done our due diligence. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that, the spirit of the law is to at least go out there and make the effort.
Mhm.
And, I'm pretty confident with where we are right now. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Great. If there's nothing else, I know time is precious, and this was a good meeting, and thank you all. I'm really excited. Dan, thank you to the crew. Like I said, at some point, maybe we'll just save it for the end, do some type of ceremonial ribbon cutting. I like that kind of stuff. It just builds a little buzz about things, and, bring some public attention to that, so we can maybe do something like that, at some point in the summer or in the fall. So good stuff.
David,
Dave,
I got,
I have one question, and this question may be for Dan. I was reading through the pedestrian safety recommendations and the mention of boat ramps. So if we're going to pave those parking areas, are those boat ramps going to be gravel, or will they be paved or concrete?
I was gonna actually, the one we're working on now, I was gonna put in pavement. So going down, so then when we do the other ones, I would put them all in pavement. Just hold it from people ripping the tires up, pulling the boats out of the water and stuff like that. I do got one question for you. I think you were in charge. There was one more thing I didn't ask you. The walking paths. Me, Gary, and Eric were talking about it. So did anybody check into that as well? Because while I'm down there, that's something I could probably take care of while we're out there working. If where the property is, if we can do any walking paths out on that.
Yeah, you know what? That is something that I think was on my list of things to do. And so maybe we'll have to get with Merrill Lee and figure out what is ours and what is not, and get with the assessors. And then if you think you can start putting some paths in there, that'd be great. I think that would be a nice touch over there. So let me put that in motion this week.
Okay, very good. That's all.
All right. I think that's it, guys.
Hey, one of the things, I don't know how, I know Old Colony has done this in the past, but one of the things we could, it's gonna take a while, but reach out to Old Colony and see if they could do like a gazebo or something of that nature. Obviously, that's gonna take time, and this wasn't probably the year far because of COVID, but maybe next year if they're looking for projects, or the year after for that matter.
Right.
That would be something that we could do. And
great idea. We'll talk to Al about that. And I know we had touched on that, the last time we met with him. And I think that is something that's up for consideration. So we'll keep that moving.
Okay.
All right.
Very
Great. Good stuff. Well, thank you all. And we'll talk to you later. Thank you very much. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
I
Motion carries. Thank you. Bye.
Good night.
Thanks.